Chapter 16. The sign on the door said, "Sorry, we're out to lunch. 1 p.m. to 2 p.m." The clock in the front window had its larger mitt on the 7 and its little mitt on the 1. "You know what that means," I cackled. "Yeah, it's 7 after 1 and it isn't funny." Spike was glowering. "And you said we were here to look. Not to enter, Sam. To look." "We can get it over with," James decided. 50 minutes, we're in and out. We find Sandy, we set him free. "Not so easy," I said. "First we have to check for an open window and a second line of escape. And with my luck..." "Forget it, Spike." We walked around to the side and made the turn to the blind alley. Where the van had been parked before, there was nothing but empty cobblestones defended by empty words. Private property / no parking. The alley was just the same. At the back was a brick wall and a parked bike and a sad tree. On the sides, running 2 stories high, were the old buildings. On the right, the old ball game. On the left, an old house. It was sunny, but not warm. The surrounding walls of the alley made a buffer against the wind and a little harbor against the high-rolling currents that beat the tree and lured its leaves with some cockamamie song of the open road, the fast pitch of the traveling salesman. I was thinking about the tree. I said, "James." He said, "Yeah, I was thinking the same thing." "What's the thing?" I said. "The thing," he said, "is somebody climbs the tree, and somebody looks around on the whole block." "And who's the somebody, James?" "Oh." He just turned and went to the tree. Spike and I went up to the building. The side of the old ball game was a sizable brick wall that had a couple of barred windows. On a signal we both leapt, arriving flatly on different sills, and then reporting our good fortune. Both windows were half open. Even the bars, about a cat and a half apart, were an open gate. Spike was shivering. "Just relax." I turned my focus back to the job. My view through the open window offered a little dark back office with the usual office junk. A lot of usual metal furniture. A lamp that was switched to off. I looked expectantly over at Spike. "I'm watching a store," he said. "Good. Any customers?" "Not a one, and not a redhead in sight either." He was squinting. "It's all dark." "So what do you say?" I said. 1, 2, 3, he said. "Go." We both dove through our different windows. Zip, kerplunk. I was on the floor and looking around at the stupid office. There was nothing much to the room. No closets and no cats. I sniffed the carpet. No cats. The room's only particular promise seemed to lie in the flaking door that led directly up to a stairway. To the right was a narrow hall that I imagined skirted the office, followed an angle, and went to the store where there were gibbering noises from Spike. So I was fearless and hit the stairs and caught the first of the steaming odors of a cramped bachelor apartment. By the time I got to the top, the odors were everywhere. The man's whole biography filled the air, and I could read it off like a diary. Dirty socks, lousy coffee, canned spaghetti, and cheap cigars. For a moment I held my breath and tried to deal with the random odors. There was one of them, very faint but very potent, that caught my heart and stuck in my throat and banged at my head. That was it. The harsh, suffocating odor of frightened cat. I moved quickly and followed my nose, which led me only into the bedroom. A small, barren chamber like a prison cell with a phone. It had a corduroy-covered bed, a small night table holding a lamp, an open closet with 3 suits, a low dresser, and Sandy's smell. Unmistakably Sandy's smell. As unique as a human fingerprint, as private as DNA. I fiddled around in the windowsill and gaped at the empty air as though Sandy were somehow in it, like the vanishing Cheshire cat, and might miraculously reappear. Nothing happened. I called his name, another fabulous touch of genius, which accomplished about as much as yelling taxi on New Year's Eve. I checked the closet for secret doors. I checked the dresser for secret drawers. I jumped on top of it. Not a loss. On the dresser I found a comb with a black brush with some red hairs, and a tin box with a stickum label. Slomo Dvorak, it said. 19 Verboten Street, New York. Take for allergies, as directed. The date on top of it was 10/25, 3 days ago. Whatever Mr. Dvorak was allergic to, he must have taken his pills because the box was pried open and it sat near a glass of water. On the door again, I sniffed my way up to the messy bed and found the odor was getting stronger. It occurred to me that maybe, just maybe, this was a clue, that I'd been overlooking the obvious, that Sandy, quite obviously, was hiding under the bed, or that he'd been hidden under the bed. Except, wait a second. Wait, I thought, if Sandy's under the bed, why was he silent? Why was he still? I felt out-and-out dread as I proceeded along the carpet. The skirt of the red spread was like a curtain blocking the view of some incredibly gory drama. I've discovered bodies before. It's never pretty, but that's the job. But this was different. I held my breath, and then reluctantly lifted the curtain. Lifted it slowly, lifted my eyes, and saw the corpse of a fuzzy lump. I dropped the curtain and almost howled. For a moment I stood paralyzed, recalling my fuzzy friend, the yellow blur that had once been a buddy. I thought of his passing charm. I thought of Rosie and how she'd loved him, of the villains and how they'd killed him, how they'd cold-blooded murdered him and... left him under the bed? I raised the curtain again and blinked. Only this time around what I saw was a yellow sweater. That was it. Just a sweater. "So what are you moping about?" James, right behind me, entered the room. I said, "The occupational hazard of having friends who resemble sweaters." "I smell Sandy," he said. "No, trust me, James, it's a yellow sweater. He must have worn it to kidnap Sandy." I looked at him. "Where were you?" "Before or after I climbed the tree." "Try during," I said. "Well, a nice escape route back of the alley, up the tree and then over the wall and then into the alley behind the theater. Not that we need it." "One never knows." "And after the alley, I checked the apartment. Nada from nada. Spike's in the store, but I think we're in—" "Shh!" I said. "Shh!" I was suddenly nervous. The hairs on the back of my neck had been practicing push-ups. I bated my breath, tightened my stomach, and circled my ears. Clomp, clomp. It was human footsteps, very faint. We ran to the hall. Clomp, clomp, jingle, jangle, whoosh, creak, creak, slam, sneeze, clomp, 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 sneeze, clomp, crash, bang, tinkle, tinkle, crash, bang, tinkle, sneeze, bounce, yowl, crash, bang, bounce, 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 bounce. We went scrambling down the stairs. By the time we got to the bottom, Spike was cowering up on the slim, highest shelf of a shivering cabinet in a wreckage of dented trophies, shattered glasses and splattering balls, and watching a towering hulk of a giant who was hollering, "Gotcha, sucker!" and was getting ready to level a bat that could have batted him off to the moon. I thought quickly and made a high, hard jump to the nearest shelf and knocked a Dodger mug to the floor. Crash, bang! Dvorak turned. Crash, bang! James erupted out of nowhere onto a shelf that tipped its everything onto the floor. Crash, bang! Dvorak batted, interrupted himself with a sneeze that sent his bat flying into the window. Crash, bang! Tinkle, tinkle! Under cover, we fled the room, out of the ruckus, out of the window, out of the alley, onto the street, and there he was again, Dvorak, looking mad as a rabid dog. He started moving, grimacing greenly through some spinach stuck in his teeth and swinging the bat around. His face appeared as fire-red as his hair, and I was just for a moment terrified. I rallied and led the way, into the alley, up to the tree, up to the branches, up to the top, and then the three of us leapt to freedom. We rested, panting and shaking, at the back of the Berry Street Theater. Up ahead was the clump of trees. Beyond the trees, at the end of the valley, I remembered, was Dithering Way. And beyond that, there was nothing to say. Spike feeling petulant, decided to say it anyway. "Sam," he said, "I'm not ever playing with you again.